All right. Well, how do you even begin to explore a working man? The Jason Statham at his Stathamness. And you know what? Sometimes when you go into a movie for just some Statham action, you'll leave away very, very satisfied. But Working Man is so much more than that. It explores the average man's struggles to become something greater than himself, and Jason Statham really like shines that. He's saving people, he's beating up evil coke lords, he's doing fucking all kinds of crazy moves and beating people up. It's truly spectacular, and you know what? It really doesn't matter how bad the movie is because, Jason Statham at his Stathamness is just fucking a thing of beauty. It almost has a cheeky cringe to it that I think was made so perfectly in this movie. And of course, this movie had all kinds of heavy hitters involved in it, including Statham himself making the goddamn thing. So I mean, you have to really wonder, if they catch on to this kind of cheesy, cringy Jason Statham kicking ass type movie that is actually quite a successful ingredient. It's just it works very well. And it shows the side of another creator, a part of this one, Sylvester Stallone, who kind of really seems to harken back to the days of, the action man. The story is there's just bad guys and a good guy. And it really works great. And Sly really has a thing going. And I bet you that him and Statham are just the best of buddies on set. And they're just like, hell yeah, action movies, kicking ass, taking down bad guys. There's these two Russian gangsters in it that just have the most absurd outfit fucking ever on. And it's just that kind of cheeky humor that's kind of lighthearted. Now, there are some pretty gory, violent moments in this, and there's heavy drug references and baddie criminals. But I think that it's like that type of thing where they can really show off that kind of, nasty world. But look, there's a good guy here to save the day, and Jason Statham more than fits the bill. I'm a Statham simp. I fucking love him in everything he's in. He's such a great dude. And to see him in action, sneaking through the bushes, spying on criminals, is just always going to be a dream come true. And God knows how many men are actually in that type of situation and never get to actually truly live out their fantasy of Jason Statham, like living out the hero's dream. Living in the back of his truck, dealing with, lawyers with custody of his kids, working a hard ass job, and, in the midst of it, he's an epic fucking beast of a man who can just seriously kick ass. It's every male fantasy. It's the male fantasy encompassed and brought to life. Statham's video catalog, movie catalog, is fucking insane and it's growing every day. The guy really just shows off that amazing, incredible action reprisal. There was recently a video of him doing a roundhouse kick off a lid of a bottle, and that's fucking just the type of guy he is. He's just the action, dude. He's just that dude. So, hats off to Statham. He's fucking incredible. You can't get enough of the guy. He honestly just him being in a movie sometimes sells it. You'd have to make a very terrible ass movie centered around Statham for it to be bad. You can basically put the guy in anything, and he always is gonna bring a smile or grin to your face. Statham has definitely been involved in video games with many voice acting things, Red Faction 2, Call of Duties, and the such. But, to make just Jason Statham the video game where you're just hunting down criminals and baddies and mercenaries across the world as just Jason Statham would be fucking fantastic. Because he's that kind of like that, he harkens back to the time that Sylvester Stallone, was just that guy. He's always a badass. He's always kicking ass. I fucking love Jason Statham. He's incredible, and this is a great Statham adventure. These are the types of movies that are really made for people who like video games because the whole thing plays out a video game. Jason Statham's taking cover, he's jumping over obstacles, he's getting equipped with weaponry, engaged in melee combat. You could really make a whole video game out of this. And I'm surprised that they haven't made just a straight on Jason Statham video game. Yeah, it's not like it's a brand new movie, but it's a fairly recent movie, and it's one of those perfect family fun Netflix type movies that you can just put on, or Prime Video, or whatever they're on. You could just put on, and you're guaranteed to get a good shot out of it. I would say it's like 7 out of 10 material, but if you're a massive fan of Statham like I am, as a movie it's 7 out of 10, but as a Statham romp, it's a Statham 9 out of 10. It's very highly realized. The production value is insane. And it just like kind of puts you in the boots of a Statham adventure. So I mean, for that you can't really fault it. So as a movie, I'm giving it a 7. As a Statham adventure, it's a 9 out of 10. And it lends credence to some like highly plot hole territory. For example, the corrupt cops that are a part of these Russian gangsters network. Yeah, now I'm not saying there isn't bad cops out there, but how could they get away with this type of thing with all the modern technology and tracking and whatnot? It's like it's really like could they really have that much influence over the police? But I mean, at the end of the day, nobody really knows. But it lends credence to some highly believable, unbelievable, I should say, moments, including one where Jason Statham just massacres a whole apartment full of people, and nobody really catches on to the fact that he did it. And he's that one of those people that's like, is the serial number scratched off? And it's like, yeah, I mean, you can't. I mean, you can't make a movie without bending the laws of physics a little bit. But the fact that Jason Statham massacres, beats up, and obliterates a whole army of people in this and never gets once questioned or thought about as a potential bad culprit is just a highly unbelievable territory. But that's kind of where the complaints end, as I mean, it just sets out to do exactly what it does. It lets Statham on the loose against a bunch of criminals and baddies and despicable, deplorable people, and he ultimately wins in the end, and he saves the day. And it's that classic story of a knight in shining armor that is just always going to bring us a little bit of joy inside. The movie did have some admittedly boring parts, and I almost dozed off at points. Because it's like, it's one of those things where after the first initial dopamine hit of Jason Statham kicking some criminals' asses or blowing them away with a shotgun or drowning them in a fucking bathtub, it just like, it's just, you eventually go through a phase of a Statham overload, so to speak. So yeah, in conclusion, Working Man, not a bad movie at all. Really sometimes comes across that way, but you know what? With Jason Statham at the helm, and some pretty admirable performances, including by Michael Pena along the way, you just can't help but think that, this is this is where we're at with movies. This is as good as it's gonna get. If you want an action flick, throw Jason Statham in a government conspiracy with the Russian mob, and you're bound to have a good time. It's really not a bad formula, but I mean, it's something that you're gonna have to be in the right mood for it, and it really is really credence to how great actors can really make a film. You could put some random douchebag in this role and it would have been a very, very lackluster movie. But for some odd reason, for some bizarre reason, it's just the man himself, the legend, Jason Statham. And when you're watching it, you fucking can't help but just love the guy. And man, it's like, what a person to fill seats and make a movie do well for people. Is that like is simply Jason Statham carrying a generic gangster mob conspiracy movie on his back, literally like a working man.